Hello, everyone. My name is Nathan, and I'm the recruiter and alumni affairs officer for the University of Kentucky. And I am joined today by Jacob Slone, a recent alum of the university. So thank you, Jacob, for meeting with me today. Can you just start off by telling us about yourself, where you're from, what you got your degree in, and just what you're doing now?
Of course. So I graduated from UK in May of 2017, and I got a bachelor's degree in music education. And ever since then, I started applying for jobs, and I was thankful to get my first job up at Beechwood Independent School District in Northern Kentucky. It's about 10 minutes away from Cincinnati in Kenton County, and I'm the assistant band director there. So the school is all K through 12 and all one district and all one campus. So I get to teach 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade high school band, all with another teacher, which is great. So we get to co-teach. And then I also do AP Music Theory, lots of marching band, jazz band, pep band, winter guard. It's a really comprehensive program, which is great. So I was really thankful to get the education that I did at UK because it helps me a lot out now that I'm up there.
All the band.
All the band, which
It
is
sort
great.
of reflects your background at UK, because at UK you were pretty involved in the art
Mhm.
scene, it looked like, both locally and nationally. You were in the Creative Arts Living Learning Program, squad leader in the Wildcat Marching Band,
Mhm.
even joined a lot of national associations for music ed. So what opportunities and experiences at UK made you realize that you're in the right profession?
Well, for music ed students and music students in general, you take a lot of classes that are for not so many credits. And you kind of get used to that, which is fine because you want to be involved in a lot. You want to perform, you want to be in those ensembles, you want to be in those groups, but then you also have to take care of your education credits and your music credits on a really busy schedule, which is the thing that helped me out the most because if it wasn't going to be worth my time, I would have known from the very beginning because of how busy I was anyway.
Hmm.
But with taking so many credits, I knew this is something that I'm enjoying because I wouldn't put myself through this if I didn't enjoy it. And then the friends and the relationships that I made, whether that's from a colleague or a teacher or another student, and getting to learn from them and establishing those relationships that I get to use now that I'm teaching have been really, really beneficial because it kind of can show you how important those are and how much you need to make those while you're in college because those are going to last for a really, 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 really long time.
You don't work a day in your life if you enjoy what you're doing, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
So you recently had an article published in the Kentucky Music Educators Association's spring publication, and it was titled "The Modern Music Edu-Preneur" or
Mm-hmm.
Edu-Preneur. Um,
Edu-Preneur.
yeah, can you talk about that process? How you were chosen for that opportunity, and what made you choose that topic for the article?
Of course. So I have been going to a lot of the professional development conferences for music. So we have ours every year, our annual Kentucky KMEA Education Association conference in Louisville in February. And then there's the national one or international one that a lot of people go to called Midwest Band and Orchestra Clinic that's in Chicago in December. And so I was kind of inspired by those people that would go and present and show that they were passionate about something other than teaching that they really wanted to share, or even within teaching that they wanted to share. So I kind of looked within myself and knew that I tried to want to put myself out there and grow as an educator and grow as a writer and try to write something that I thought I was going to be passionate enough about that could maybe help somebody else. So one of the things that happened to me when I was student teaching in Lexington was I had really great cooperating teachers, Bill Kite and Jeff Barely from Henry Clay High School, taught me a lot, inspired me a lot. So I kind of took what I learned from them and tried to put it in skills that were something that you could grasp, but weren't exactly teaching music or teaching your content. So that's kind of how we broke down in different entrepreneurship skills that you could relate to, all the articles that you see in business magazines or developmental magazines, but it tried to cater towards music and how even if you teach band, orchestra, choir, general music, you can try to pick out these things and work on it within your discipline, and try to better yourself, not only as a teacher, but all the things that we're asked in our profession outside of actually teaching, that you can kind of work on. So I really think these skills are something that you never fully finish or mastering. So it's something that you can read once and then go and try to develop yourself for, I don't know, a week, a month, a year, 2 years, and then go back and you reread it again. And it's something you'd be like, oh yeah, I could try this, or I didn't develop myself or grow as much in this skill rather than another skill. So it's something that I think is self-serving, that you can kind of go back and hopefully get something out of it.
Yeah, just like music, we never stop learning, we never stop performing. You always have to support the musician and the artist within yourself when you're in this profession.
Mm-hmm.
I'll link the article obviously in this video, but you talk about the 9 entrepreneur skills that all educators need to possess. If you had to pick one of the 9 that you want to teach future music educators and make them realize is really crucial when going into the workforce, which one of the 9 do you think it would be that's the most important?
Communication. I think that skill kind of umbrellas over all the other skills that are talked about in the article, just because you have to think about the different types of communication that you're going to have on a daily basis. Not only are you up there, on the stereotypical and quote unquote stage teaching kids, but you're going to have to talk to the parents, you're going to have to talk to administration, whether or not you're working with other teachers and having a co-teacher there. You really have to make sure that you're putting your best intention forward in what you're saying. And for a lot of younger people, all of their conversations are on a screen, and all of their face-to-face interactions are less than 20 seconds or 30 seconds. And it's not for someone that's 2 or 3 times older than them that, in the back of their mind when they're talking to them, it could be your principal or your superintendent. And you think, oh, this person has their job in their hands. And if I say the wrong thing, it can mean maybe something that's not so good. So you have to learn how to communicate, and you really have to make sure that you practice that as much as you can. So for people that maybe consider themselves extroverts, maybe have a little bit easier time doing that. So you have to put yourself out there and being okay with messing up, and learning from failure, and making sure that even if you have a little slip up, it's going to be okay, and you're going to learn from that and try to do a little bit better next time. But you have the face-to-face communication and the vocal communication, but then you have to think written communication too. About all of our written communications, or a high majority of it, could be under 140 characters or something that you want to share online. So you have to learn how to write an article and learn how to write a cover letter and your resume, and making sure that what you're writing down is a good thought process, and have multiple people read it. I don't consider myself to be a strong writer, so I have a lot of people read what I write, even if it's an email, especially over maybe a parent concern. I have someone else read it for a while, and then I wait an hour, and then I reread it, and then I check it again, and then I end up sending it. So it's putting yourself through those paces where it is more comfortable later on, because it's something you have to learn. And it's exponential. It's going to take a little bit longer at the first time, and then it gets a little bit easier the more that you do it. So communication really goes through there, because not only does it affect you actually teaching, but it affects a lot of other things about how you handle your outside content teaching area responsibilities.
Well, nowadays, given the current situation, I'm sure communication is very crucial, not just for staff members and colleagues, but for you and your students and their families, so you can still give them quality education, even though you're not physically in the band room or orchestra room on the podium in front of students, but instead you're on a computer and you're talking face to face through Zoom and Skype, FaceTime, and utilizing all those different communication tools.
Yeah, exactly. It's really hard, and it's trying to make sure that you're making that connection with the kids still.
And so with that, have you found any challenges during this non-traditional instruction situation that you've been able to use from your article? A lot of those tips that you suggested, or any or what challenges have you had to overcome these last few weeks?
Yeah, the challenge is definitely trying to make sure you're still having a connection with the kids, and it's really having the ability to adapt. I'm a little bit more keen with technology, so I don't mind trying to transfer everything online. It does take time, and you do have to make sure that maybe your expectations change a little bit about what you're going to get done. But the most important thing, at least for me and with my perspective and ideology, is you have to make sure that you're still trying to make a connection with the kids. And it's not about, what skill level at the very end that they are matches up with where you wanted them to be at the beginning of the year, because it's a completely different situation. We have kids that don't have home internet. We have kids that their parents are not there the entire day, so they don't have any accountability. Their only accountability was going to school and have people, have them do certain assignments. So it's the ability to adapt and communicate that to kids, because maybe their family or maybe their parents aren't telling them that, it's going to be okay. You're going to have everything done and it's going to be fine. So we're being a little bit more lenient, which I feel like a lot of teachers are, just because you want to make sure that you're not stressing out the kids. You're not trying to make their situation even a little bit worse, but it's making sure that you're putting their mental health forward in your mind, and being approachable through there too. So I always tell my kids, it's going to be okay. You'll be fine. I'm available whenever you need me. So we're doing a lot of Google Meets, and we're doing a lot of stuff on Google Classroom. And then teachers have shared a lot of different resources, because we weren't really trained. A lot of professions weren't trained for what kind of work they're doing now. So even before this, teachers loved sharing ideas and loved sharing resources, and even more so now, because everyone's kind of figuring it out in the same boat. So we have a lot of different things that you can lean on, your relationships and your peers, and that's why it's so important to make sure you make those when you're at your undergrad or getting your education. So it's just the willingness to adapt.
So I follow you on social media, obviously, and you seem to have a lot of fun with some of the students. So how are you bringing just fun and education and combining the two while you're teaching remote? What's a really unique way of adding a unique outtake on music education for the students?
Right. So in my district, every single day we have to be available as an elective class from 1 to 2, where kids can hop into our Google Meet and hop out if they have a question. But nowadays, this happened even the first week. I have kids that just hop in and hang out because they are bored and they don't really have a lot of stuff to do. So the first couple of days was just, like chatting and helping out kids that had lots of questions, because it was a big learning curve for everyone. But then the second week, it turned into, those few students that just came in and hung out. And then we turned it into, exercises about major scales and exercises about doing cardio and workouts at home while you're thinking about your major scales. So it's kind of just a different capacity of how you're trying to communicate and connect with them. And, I have this really motivated kid that wants to do planks and go through his major scales on Google Meets in front of, the 5 or 6 other kids that are in there every single week for that hour. So it's just trying to find specific ways like that. And I brought almost every instrument home that I could. I have a flute, clarinet, oboe, saxophone, trumpet, trombone, French horn, baritone, piano. I have everything. So it's, making fun games where I'll give them a song to pick and I'll try to play it on a specific instrument. Just because, one, that'll make me a little bit better on secondary instruments, but then they get to see their teacher try to do something goofy. So it's just kind of fun. Yeah. Right. And that's completely okay, because you want to try to make a relation with them and still have that connection there.
Oh yeah, for sure. These connections that we make throughout these last few weeks, next few months, I feel are going to be a little stronger, more intimate, and we'll be able to look back on this time and everyone came out stronger, both individually, professionally, in the long run, for sure. So what is your professional goal for the next 5, 10, 15 years, since you are a little newer to the profession? What do you see yourself doing the next 10 years?
Well, I'm finishing up my 3rd year. I guess it's kind of 2.75 year of teaching almost, but 3rd year. And I'm really thankful to teach where I do, because it's a great district. We have a lot of support administrationally, and a lot of support in our community with our parents too. And the kids are absolutely great. I know we're kind of blessed with what support that we have through there. But in the next 5 to 10 years, I really try to keep it open, because I just want to teach music, no matter where that is. I really love teaching with another teacher, and I love teaching in a district that has a comprehensive band program. It's really hard for those teachers that go out and try to build a program up. That's a lot harder than, going into an established program and just trying to, again, make it the best that it can be, because I feel like that's a lot of music educators' ideology, but you have to advocate for yourself, and we already have that support, and that's one of the big things to try to establish first. So it's teaching in a district that has that, I'm really, really prone to Kentucky just because that's where I'm from. I'm from Lexington. So I'd love to stay in Kentucky as long as possible. And I want to be one of those leaders later on where I have role models that I look up to now that are in the education field that are, making a lot of the decisions and trying to push our content forward, whether that be music education or specifically band content oriented. I have that aspiration to try to be one of those people later on. But then again, I always think maybe, it'd be cool to teach second or higher ed, but that also takes a lot of money and 2 more degrees than what I have, which is fine because I love learning, but it would be a big commitment, but I always try to keep that open.
Yeah, just one day at a time. You never know.
Exactly. Especially right now.
Exactly. One day at a time. Just practice the oboe and the flute and the clarinet and see where it takes you. So last but not least, since this is a UK interview, if you had one memory that stuck with you forever during your time at UK, what would it be?
So I did W&B for 2 years. And that second year I was a squad leader. And then I was thankful to get a studio scholarship where I didn't necessarily have to be in marching band, but then I replaced that with going out and teaching because I wanted teaching experience. But I remember it was my senior year and I still knew a lot of people in the marching band. I had friends that were senior assistants. I had friends that were drum majors. I still knew the director really well. And they had a spot that they needed filled for the bowl game that they had just made in Jacksonville. So I think I got an email. It was maybe 2 weeks before the trip to the bowl game. And they said, hey, do you want to fill this spot? I said, absolutely. Because it was over New Year's. I didn't really have a lot going on. And those trips are always fun because you get to represent the university. And then they said, it's a sousaphone spot. Is that okay? I said, oh, absolutely it is. But I had never marched sousaphone. I had never really played tuba other than the classes that we took at UK. So those 2 to 3 days of learning how to march sousaphone, like 40 pounds on your shoulder was pretty interesting on like national TV. And then I really hadn't marched that much for maybe a year or two, like in that capacity. So it was still a lot of fun because then I got to be on the trip with a lot of friends, got to spend New Year's in Jacksonville, which was awesome. And, establish that connection one more time because we came back, I think it was New Year's Day. So January 1 and then January 2, I started student teaching. So it was just a quick turnaround, which was fun. So it was like one last hurrah in terms of marching band for UK. So that was really, really special.
Well, sweet. Well, thank you so much for taking the time out of your unique schedule right now and your last day of spring break, sharing it with us. And we'd love to have you back on campus. I know you're really connected with all the faculty and staff here on campus. So you're always welcome. And I hope Beechwood treats you well. And I'm sure we will see you on campus very soon.
No, of course. Thank you, Nate. It was a great opportunity.